Welcome back to Morning Express on this 15th day of November, Friday it is. We're glad you're watching. And as I promised before we took that short break, are you looking for love? Has it proven difficult? Many people nowadays in the country of all ages, you know, you'll hear them saying, yeah, it's very hard to find that special one. So today we are talking about finding a partner, and even more so, getting yourself to be that partner that somebody would want to be with. And joining me in studio is Hart, who's a relationships expert. I'm sure you know him, you've seen him. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
I've added that because many a times we say we are looking for, but at the end of the day we want all this perfection, but we forget about us. And the individual, because at the end of the day, even the person we're looking for is also looking, or in essence wants something good. So if we're only looking for the good and we're not working on us being that partner that's also good, it's a challenge. What have you, of course this is an area you're an expert in, and you've talked to very many people and you observe a lot of what happens. Where Kenya is at now and what you see and hear as far as people looking for that partner, how is it? How is that? Is it a struggle? Is it easy?
It's all over the world. It's more difficult than it used to be.
Now?
Yes, and that's largely because life has changed. For example, over the last 50 years, something that's never been done before has happened. A large number of women are being educated. Now that changes their aspirations in life, and it changes the rules of dating and marrying and so on. So, for example, a lot of women are marrying much later. Now, that makes a significant difference to the marriage market.
Okay. All right. So because then they're working, they're focusing on their education more, and so they put on the back seat issues and matters of relationship and marriage. So for the men, you'd also say for them it's become more difficult. They need to...
Actually, no. It's nothing's much has changed for the men.
No?
If you look at what men are doing, men are marrying much the same as they ever did.
Okay.
Yeah, men typically marry 2 or 3 years into their career, after their education's finished, they've got into a good job. For a lot of men, that's in their late 20s, round about 30, maybe 31, 32 for somebody who's done 2 degrees. Now, the catch is that they often find that the people they went to college with, the girls they went to college with, their age mates, don't want to get married. They're still anxious to continue their career. So, of course, those men look around for somebody else. Now, fast forward 3 or 4 years for those ladies wanting to get married.
Exactly.
Where have all the good men gone?
Gone to.
They're married.
They're married, exactly. And that is a lot of the conversation you get nowadays with the women, as you're saying. They've focused on the career growth and they've gotten everything they want, beautiful, great job, driving, they're stable. But then now when you now sit down and you want to now have that relationship, it's not there. So what can be done? How do they resolve this situation?
If we concentrate for a moment on those ladies, the ladies who are basically, one way or another, they've ended up looking for a partner between sort of 33, 35, 37, that sort of age. They must not go looking for the traditional man. The traditional single guy is frankly not available because he's already got married. And the only single guys who are left are the ones that have been left, and for a good reason. You know? And they have a lot of trouble if they go out with those single guys. So their best bet actually is to go for somebody a little bit older who's actually been in a relationship and it's failed. So they're divorced, or they've been in a come we stay and it's ended. They need to be looking at a guy who's in their early 40s, maybe a bit older.
So what age group are we talking about? This one that has, decided to focus on their career. What age are they?
Well, they're broadly speaking 33, 37, that sort of age range.
So for 33 to 37 women, if you are looking out for a single guy, it's going to be very difficult to find that one.
Yeah, I mean, the only single guys around are the rogues who stand at the end of the bar, you know. The guys who are terribly shy or are still living with their mothers, and all sorts of problems like that.
And of course, you'll also find that for those women, the single guys who are available, and as you said, would be described as well, not at the same level in terms of the achievements or where the women are at.
They might be. The problem is that guys who do not marry in their sort of late 20s, 30, they've really become used to the single life. They don't want to settle down. They don't want to commit. So they lead these poor ladies a terrible dance. They lead them on for 2 or 3 years, and then suddenly the lady discovers, this man's not actually going to marry me. So that's the problem with them.
Okay. And also we're seeing a lot of these ladies, to still focus on them before we move on, the 33 to 37, they're about in 40s, they become very independent. They can do so many things for themselves. So how does this person still become very attractive to a man who, especially in our traditional society, although times are changing, we're seeing more and more men taking over some of these roles and being comfortable doing things that earlier on they were not. So what is a eligible bachelor spinster, are they called?
Yeah, if you like. Sounds a bit old-fashioned, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that these ladies face when they get with a man is that their expectations are much too high. I mean, the guys are not actually put off by these high-achieving ladies at all.
Really?
They're very attracted to them. But they suddenly discover that these ladies have got outrageous expectations, like, not for them a pleasant 2-bedroom apartment somewhere in the middle of the city. It's got to be the big house in Karen. And all of a sudden the guy begins to wonder, where do I find all the money for this, So I think one of the most important things these ladies have got to do is to recognize that there is still going to be a lot of expense in running a family, having children. Don't have your expectations wildly out of keeping with what the man can afford.
Okay, and remember, if you're watching this and you have any question, you can tweet me at Sophia Wanuna or at KTN Kenya. The hashtag is Morning Express KTN, and we'll be able to put your question to the good Chris Hart and see what he'll have to say. So feel free to engage in our discussion this morning. It's interesting that you say for these women, they have very high expectations, because you'd imagine it's the younger ones who have this fairy tale imagination and picture all painted out of how it's gonna be. He's gonna marry me, we'll have children and a car and all this. But you'd imagine for a woman who's been around for quite a while, she has kind of come to terms with the challenges and the life and the circumstances and the boundaries, and so she will not have this kind of expectations.
No, they generally do, I'm afraid. What tends to happen is that the wealthier people become, the more they want.
Okay.
And so, she's already got a car and a nice apartment. Now she wants a much better car and a much bigger place. And so it goes on. And I think what most single people do not understand is how costly it is to run a family. Once the children come, the expenses go really weird. And all of a sudden, the guy is very worried about that.
All right, Chris, we have a caller, William Odenga from Nairobi. William Odenga, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for calling in. You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a question. Would it be easy for one to get a partner, not necessarily a Kenyan, but a white one who has been in Kenya for quite long? I would like to know from that expert, because it has been a challenge. Okay, Kenyan ladies are there, we need to give them, okay, everything is easy. But now getting that American lady or that UK lady who has been in Kenya for 10 years, is it easy? I want to know the tips. It's possible. Let me help me, please.
William, I'll just please repeat something you said there. You want to know how easy to... Okay, and we lost him. I did not manage to get the question. I just had it. How easy is it to get, a certain kind of a woman, but I didn't manage to get that question. William, if you're still watching, if you can come back, we'll take your call again, or you can tweet me at Sophia Onuro at KTN Kenya. But yes, to continue with the discussion, for the men, nowadays there are more and more men in their late 30s and early 40s that are single.
Yes.
And some will say they still want to get married. But the concern is that this is a man who, for a very long time, has been by his own.
Yeah.
He's dated very many women, you'd assume. But at this age, he's still single. And he's formed a wild view, even around marriage and everything, how that works.
Yes.
So one would be concerned if there are issues with this person in terms of not changing them, but making it work. Maybe that they're already set in their path.
I think what you're implying is absolutely right.
Yes.
A guy who has led the single life all the way through his 30s wants to stay like that. And he will view marriage, or whatever he thinks of as marriage, as something that will not change his life. He wants to go on going out with the lads, drinking all hours, running a big car, all the sorts of things.
Yes.
And suddenly he thinks, do I really want a wife who's going to land me with all sorts of expenses? He thinks, no, what I really want is, to be blunt, sex.
Yeah.
And frankly, he can get plenty of that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, to him, marriage is not quite as attractive as it used to be. So he's not, to be honest, a very good choice of partner.
Okay. So you need to be very wary of those ones.
Depends what you want, of course. If you want a lot of fun, if you want the high life and, charging around in big city cars, yeah, fine. But if you want to settle and have 2.4 children and start incurring some big school expenses and things like that, he's probably not the best choice.
He's not going to be into that. All right, let's go to Nakuru. Elizabeth is joining us. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was asking whether they look for the elder, not middle aged from 50s.
50s?
50 from.
Yes? Elizabeth, are you still there?
I think I got what she was saying there. She was asking whether it's possible for people in their 50s to find love. And I think the answer is very much yes.
Yes.
In fact, an increasing number of people are doing that.
Okay.
I think you can understand the reason. A lot of people have been in a relationship, it's failed, or they've lost a spouse, and they're out on the market again.
Yeah.
And the only problem is that the dating rules are very different for those people. The way they meet, the way they carry on their relationships are very different.
How different are they? And what advice do you give to such a person in their 50s? They still want love, they want that partner.
Well, one of the characteristic differences is that when two people meet in their 50s or later, they often don't actually marry and move in together. They become very close companions. They do everything together.
Yes.
But they retain their houses, their old lifestyles, and it's often better to go along with that. If you find that you're looking for a partner and you find somebody who wants to do that, don't push them up the aisle, because the chances are they won't go.
All right. Samuel Amolo is calling us from Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Good. Thank you for calling. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
If any case that you are single. Yes.
Sorry?
If any case, in the position where I am, I'm single.
You're single?
What factors can I consider to get a very good wife?
How old are you, if you don't mind?
19 years.
19?
Yes.
Okay, are you still in school?
No, I completed my course.
Okay, so are you looking to get married, or you just want to have a girlfriend?
Yes, I have a girlfriend.
Sorry?
Yes.
You have a girlfriend, okay. And are you working?
Yes, I'm working.
You live alone? Sorry for asking questions, but I'm just trying to facilitate Chris with enough information to answer you well. Are you living by yourself, or are you still at home?
Yes.
At home?
Yes, at home.
At home. All right. Yes. Thank you for your question, Samuel. Let's hear what Chris has to say.
Well, at that age, of course, he can have a lot of fun with whatever girls he meets. But no girls will take him too seriously as a husband until he's established himself rather more. So he needs to leave home, build up his career, whatever work he's doing, for another 2 or 3 years, really. And at that point, he's beginning to get very attractive to the young ladies who've also left school and are beginning to look for a husband.
Okay, so he needs to perhaps first move out.
Move away from home, set himself up and live by himself for 2 or 3 years, and become more of a man of the world, live life independently for a few years. And then, as I say, he'll become very attractive.
And you see, to take it back to the other question as well, on the people who are, let's say, in their 40s, and some have children, and some wonder how comfortable a situation be. If I'm dating, I have children, they'll see this man, I don't know how it'll work out. And some, for the fear of the impact it could have on their children, then they're like, I'd rather stay alone. Of course, there are others who go on the extreme and they don't care, and they'll keep changing the men, and actually does affect the children. So when you have children in the picture, how do you balance that out?
Well, obviously cautiously. It is, as you say, much more difficult when you're 45 years old, you've got 2 children. It's particularly difficult for the mother because, of course, she'll have the children with her all the time, in principle, and she will be very nervous about introducing a man to them who might then disappear. So what she's got to do really is start the relationship away from home, just as from the children's point of view, just as a social event, until she gets to the point where she really does know that this relationship is becoming a firm relationship that's going to last.
Okay, let's cross to Abuya. We have another caller, Jibril. Jibril, good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Sophia.
Thanks for calling, Jibril. Your question, please.
I want to contribute to that discussion.
Right.
Actually, it is true what Chris is saying. Me, I married a wife who is older than me.
Okay.
So she was expecting much from me. But you see, the thing is, if there is love, then there is commitment.
Okay. So for you, it has worked out. She's older than you and you're happy.
I'm happy.
Okay. So you'd advise other men to perhaps venture into that kind of a situation?
Actually, it is about commitment and love. If they promise to commit themselves to that woman, to that lady, and love that lady, it will work out well.
Jibril, and if you don't mind me asking, how much older than you is she?
No, 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for contributing, Jibril.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right. So there we have a situation. Jibril, his wife, 5 years older than him, and he says for him, commitment and love doesn't matter. It will work.
You know, the old age difference thing was all economic. It was as guys get older, they get wealthier. So you want to marry under those situations. A woman wants to marry a man older than her, not too older though, because he'll drop dead too soon. So it worked out at around about 5 years older. Nowadays that's all gone. It doesn't matter at all. And so what he said is absolutely right. If you find the right person, the age difference doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's a much larger difference or the wrong way around. It really doesn't matter. But it does emphasize a very important point. It is important to find the right person.
Yes.
And the old sort of Hollywood model of, across a crowded room doesn't work very well anymore in an urban environment.
Yes.
And the biggest mistake most people make is that they only really get to know a few people, half a dozen maybe, and they select their partner from that number. It's impossible to find a perfect match in 4 or 5 people.
Okay.
So you've got to be much more active and investigate, let me put it that way.
Okay.
Much larger number.
Much larger number. And I also want us to talk more about what it takes for one to be that good partner, what you need to prepare yourself ahead of getting that. But Chamuta is from Nairobi. Oh, good morning.
Morning.
You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, my love. Yes. Yeah, I have my brother. I am 7.
Sorry, would you repeat that?
Yeah. Saying. I have been Yeah. I have been.
All right, your line is very unclear, Chamuta. If you can hear me, please, you can send us a message, 22155, or tweet me at Sophia Onuna, or maybe you can try call again. We cannot hear you.
Yeah.
But Chris Minor is online. Chris, good morning.
Morning.
You have a question or a comment? Please reduce the volume on your television.
Yes, I have a comment and a question.
Great.
Yes, yeah. My comment is...
before you continue, please reduce the volume on your television so we can get you clearly.
Oh, thanks. Let me...
Yeah, you do that. Just take your time.
Yes, now you are getting me.
Yes, now I can hear you better.
So my question is, my comment is, our fellow guys are just hearing the young ladies when they are educated. Like now, I can say a guy is doing a master's degree, and a guy has done a diploma course. So it is very impossible for a guy to get in a relationship with a girl with the master as course. So how do you advise my fellow guys so that you can understand that love is something to it. So you cannot compare love with education. That's my comment and the question.
Thank you so much. We heard you loud and clear. Asante sana for calling in, and that also is an issue for very many people, where to strike that balance. In that question, he's talking about education standards. For example, when the girl has a master's, the guy has just a diploma. How do you get to a situation where the woman can still be respectful?
Yes. I mean, in general, relationships work best when the couple are very similar in terms of family background, income, education, things of that sort. But that's only statistics. What really matters is not the pieces of paper you got from school. It's, if you like, your attitude to life. If you're somebody whose education didn't proceed very far, but nevertheless you're a very ambitious, very hard-working, very driven sort of person, then you'll get on just as well with somebody who's got lots of pieces of paper.
Yeah.
It's about the attitudes and values rather than the education that matters.
Yes, and also your perception and your views as far as that is concerned, because I think it also comes from esteem, because some people will base their self-esteem and feel how important they are or relevant in a relationship based on how they compare to their partner.
People do that, it's true, but bear in mind, I mean, Bill Gates didn't have a degree.
Yeah.
You know, now I don't think anybody ever lacked respect for him. So it's all about what you respect. And if you find that when you're dating, you find you can't respect your partner, and that's got nothing to do with their paperwork. If you can't respect your partner, they're not the right partner for you.
And also for the men, just for him, a man can, and a woman, whoever it is, can always advance their studies. Just because they have a master's, you have a diploma, you could catch up.
Yes, but it doesn't matter. I really do know lots of cases where, for example, I know one woman who has 2 doctorates and she's married to a printer. And they have 4 children, and they've been married forever. You know, so they've got about as big a difference in education as you could possibly have.
So it shouldn't count. It should not be a big deal. It does not matter.
But the word you used, respect, does matter.
Yes.
That lady with her 2 doctorates obviously respects her printer husband very much for all his other attributes.
Yes.
And so long as she does, that's fine.
Yeah. So respect must be there, though. Rajab from Riru, good morning. Okay, he's gone. But also in that kind of situations, we'll have even, say, to the extreme, female president, with a husband who's, doing something totally different.
Yes.
But as you said, if respect and still having this kind of... it actually does boil down to respect for the man.
Yes.
Whichever situation
the
it would
classic
work
example of that, of course, is Dennis Thatcher.
Yeah.
Mrs. Margaret Thatcher's husband, who she enormously respected, but he was very careful to keep himself out of her limelight. Think of Prince Philip, the Queen's husband. Same, you see. Exactly the same situation.
Okay.
It's perfectly possible to be highly respected and loved as a spouse, although you are, if you like, not of the same status.
Yeah, and of course that applies as well when it comes to employment and the kind of earnings and money, salaries you're bringing. Our time is about up. We have about 5 minutes, but I want us to talk about the person who's looking for love. How do they prepare themselves? Because they just shouldn't wake up and be like, okay, I'm looking for a great partner, somebody who's like this, like that, and the other. I mean, we always have those lists down, but do they need a list for themselves as well?
Well, first of all, they have to think about the process they're about to start. It's absolutely critical that they, in effect, rule out people who are not suitable for them. It's very tempting to just fall in love with the first person who smiles at you and then try and sort it out later. It never works. So what you've actually got to do is talk to a lot of people and recognize that 99% of them are not going to be a match for you. So you've got to go through a process of looking for a person who's a good match with you. And it's important that people do that. And then the second thing you've got to do is ask yourself if you're actually ready to be a spouse. For example, are you sufficiently independent? Take the case of the young man who is still at home. He's not ready. He's got to be independent. You've got to ask yourself whether your values are compatible with marriage. If you still love the high life, and you love spending money on flashy cars and all the rest of it, it's not going to be compatible with family, by and large. So you've got to ask yourself, am I ready? And am I the right sort of person to be a spouse? And if the answer is yes, or put it the other way, if the answer's no, you better do a bit of work on yourself.
Yes. And there are people who always ask, where do I find someone?
Well, these days, the answer is work.
Work?
The larger world of work, not just
in the office.
Not just your personal office, but all the people that interact with your employment.
Okay.
The suppliers, the customers, the clients, the solicitors, the bankers, all the people you meet as a consequence of work.
Okay.
And there's lots of reasons for that. I mean, for a start, you know that they're employed.
Yes, at least
it makes a difference.
Yeah.
You know a lot about them because of the nature of their job. You know whether they're ambitious and whether they're successful and competent. And you tend to meet them under fluorescent lights in the middle of the day, stone cold sober, so you make much better decisions about them.
Yes.
Contrast that with meeting at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. in a
bar.
club, like, woo-hoo, what's your name, girl? Yeah. Okay. And also, when you talk about meeting at the place of work and that being one of those we are seeing unfolding as a platforms, but the challenge also becomes having that relationship at work. Isn't it sometimes very tricky if you're going to be working in the same place, so you're together, at home you're together, always?
It comes back to that thing I was mentioning a moment ago. Before you get romantic, you need to have made the decision.
Okay.
If you know that this is going to succeed, then the fact that it started at work is no problem at all. What you don't want are failed relationships at work. Now, the big problem for most people is that they let relationships go far too long before they fail. Relationships should fail in the first hour, quite honestly. You should ask the right questions, recognize the difference in values between you, the things that are going to snooker you further down the line.
Yeah.
And if you see those in the first hour, don't go any further.
Yeah, because there are people who hold on, hoping that things will change. And there are people who you'll talk to and they'll tell you all these issues in the relationship, but they'll be like, yeah, but he's going to change.
Well, let me just tell you, an absolute rule for relationships is that people don't change. What you see in the first hour is what you're going to experience 10 years later.
Okay.
So if you see something you don't like in the first hour, don't expect it to change.
Yeah. And how much do we read into the friends and the people around this person we potentially would want to have as a partner?
Very important. I mean, you take the young man who's obviously got a great list of friends, male and female, and they obviously go clubbing every night. That's telling you an awful lot about that young man.
Yeah. And of course, then there'll be those who will hang out with the people who are very together, good values, and that's a positive sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to look for somebody, assuming you're looking for a spouse, you want to look for somebody who's got spouse-type values, who values family, values the relationship with just one person rather than the club life and so on.
And as we talk about finally looking for a partner, we're having different people looking for different kind of partners. There are those looking for a marriage partner, those looking for a boyfriend, there are those, as you said, looking for friends with benefits. So at the end of the day, as we wind up for you, your words to everybody is to be clear about what you want.
Yes.
To be, as a person, ready.
Yes.
Prepared.
Yes.
Be that person that the other one would want to be with as you wind up your closing remarks.
My last remark would be completely honest, both with yourself about what you're wanting and also with your partner. I mean, there's no point in leading your partner down the garden path.
Yeah.
If you want to have a good relationship with someone, be yourself, be honest, tell the truth, and they'll take you at face value. And if there's a match, you'll have a very successful relationship.
Okay.
If you start a relationship on false pretenses, it will definitely fail.
Yes, it will definitely fail. You heard it from Chris Hart. Thank you for joining us this morning on Morning Express. And thank you all who called in, have texted in, have tweeted us. We appreciate you engaging with us this morning. And I think he's ended at a very important note. It's really about being yourself, because at the end of the day, you'll have to be with that self, which will eventually come out, even if you try initially to field a few lies here and there. But that's a few tips for you as you're looking for a partner, if you are, and if you're in one good relationship, well, we're happy for you and we wish you the best.